What's good, everybody? It's me, James Veck, back with another V&V episode, only this time regarding the January transfer window. This is just one of the many videos myself and Rory Spooner will be covering regarding the January transfer targets for all the big six sides in the Premier League. Now, I'm going to start with United here. Now, we know how hard it is to sign good players in January, let alone sign anybody at all. So, if available, these would be the players that I would be going for. Now, just to bear in mind as well that United do need to strengthen in multiple areas. I'm sure we would all agree mainly defensively. This would be my three picks that would benefit us the most should players become available in January. So starting with centre-half. Now, myself and Spooner spoke previously about Victor Lindelof being the only real good defender that United have. The player that I would be going for to potentially partner up with Lindelof is Milan Skriniar of Inter Milan, just 23 years old. Now, he first joined Serie A when he signed for Sampdoria in 2016, quickly became a key player for them over the coming season and actually became the youngest player that season to play over 35 times in the league. His talents were quickly scouted by Inter Milan, who went on to sign him in July of the next year, 2017, and he's actually become a really big part of Inter Milan's recent resurgence and has played a massive part in their return to the Champions League. Now, as a defender, he's more of an old school type defender and it's quite often been compared to Nemanja Vidic. I'm not one for player comparisons because they don't tend to come off very often. However, looking at videos and watching him play, especially in the Champions League this season, I can certainly see what people are talking about with the similarities. He's a bit of a no-nonsense kind of guy, tends to stick his head where most people wouldn't stick their feet, so you can see the similarities there with Vidic. He's actually very, very composed, has got decent pace, and he's very, very organised as well. In terms of the transfer value itself, you're probably going to be looking at around about £50 million, which may seem like a lot of money for someone of that age, but in today's transfer market, it's kind of the money that you're going to need to spend. Now, I know Reece isn't a huge fan of signing young defenders, especially if we were going to play him alongside Victor Lindelof, which is also very young as well. However, from what I've seen of him in the Champions League ties, he's very, very impressive against Barcelona and very, very impressive against Spurs. He actually managed to keep hold of Suarez and Kane very well. So I'm dealing with players who are playing in the Premier League at the moment, and Suarez has obviously played there in the past. I actually have confidence that he would be able to deal with them quite well. Moving on to the second player of my choice, which is a holding midfield player. I mentioned him in the previous episode, and that's Ivan Rakitic. This guy doesn't really need too much of an introduction. Off the back of 3 or 4 good seasons with Barcelona, he was absolutely excellent for Croatia at the World Cup and was actually a big part in the midfield with Ballon d'Or winner Luka Modric as to how they went on to get to the final. His form for Barcelona is actually very good. He's had 239 appearances, scored 32 goals and 33 assists. So he's not only scoring the goals but creating them as well. Alongside this, I would actually say that as a midfielder, he's probably got everything. He can pass the ball, he can shoot, he's got quick feet, decent turn of pace, and he just scores goals. To go with that, he also brings a great deal of experience to a United midfield that doesn't really have a huge amount at the top level. You look at Pogba aside, you look at players like Herrera, Fellaini, Fred. You wouldn't really say that those players have a great deal of experience playing at the highest level. So, addition of someone like Rakitic would hugely boast the United midfield. Transfer value, you're probably going to be looking at again maybe about 60 to 70 million pounds. Yes, he's 30 years old, but I do still believe that he's got maybe 3-4 years at the top level, and you could get value for money out of that. I do think he's someone that would add much needed quality to the United midfield. Moving on to my third choice, again is a defensive choice, and it's at right back. Now, with Antonio Valencia, especially this season, struggling with injuries and obviously age not on his side. We've also got Dalot, again looks like a promising young player, but I think that he's a little bit too young to take up the right back position for United full time at the moment. My choice for someone to come in and slot in there nicely, take over from Valencia, would be Thomas Meunier. He currently plays his football at PSG, 27 years old, Belgian international as well, doing very well at the World Cup. Now, at 6'2" tall, for a man of his height, he can actually really shift. Watching him a lot, he's actually got a really good turn of pace, which actually makes him a nightmare for attacking wingers, as they can rarely get away from him. He's also got very good feet, excellent awareness, and puts in a really dangerous cross in the box. Now, for players like Cavani, Mbappe, Neymar, Thomas Meunier is an absolute dream at right back, because with how late they arrive into the penalty box, if you watch the footage back of him and actually watch him play, he's constantly getting assists, and he actually chips in with the odd goal as well. You might be thinking that because he plays in the French league, that it's not been a very strong league, could he actually do this in the Premier League? But if you actually watch him play, you look at the attributes that he has, and I do believe that he could do this at a higher level as well. So just to recap, then we've got Milan Skriniar as a centre half, Ivan Rakitic in midfield, and Thomas Meunier at right back. So those are my thoughts on who United should sign in the January transfer window. Trying to be a little bit realistic with some of them, as you could kind of pick any of the world's best players, but being realistic on who would actually be available for a move. And I do think that these three players have potential of possibly moving in January. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for listening once again, and we'll see you in the next video.